First, I just want to say how excited I am to be part of an organization that has an entire session on this topic is amazing. So grateful to be here. Thank you to SAGES and to our awesome co-chairs for having me. So I'm going to cover everything bump related. These are my disclosures. So we're just going to review all the considerations for evaluating a female with a hernia, understand how a hernia repair may be complicated by any pregnancy, and review the considerations and the timing of that repair. So before the bump, we're going to spend the most time here, and I think probably one of the biggest take-homes I want you to leave here today with is that every person you encounter that has a uterus and intact fertility is potentially pre-bump, right? And this is something you should be asking all these patients about, every single, trying to be inclusive, that there can be other groups too, but for the most part, these are going to be females that present to you of childbearing age, and you need to ask about their desire for future pregnancy. So why is that? What are those considerations? So this patient comes to you, they have a hernia. The first thing they might be asking, and you should be thinking, is if they do have a subsequent pregnancy after repair, will that repair remain intact? We know that with pregnancy, a female's abdominal wall expands dramatically. So you have increased intra-abdominal pressure, you have an increased girth, and that translates to increased tension on the abdominal wall and thus the tension of repair that may have been done. So does that translate to a recurrence risk? Short answer is yes. So this was a retrospective database study using the Danish ventral hernia database, and they identified over 3,500 female patients of reproductive age that had undergone a previous ventral hernia repair. Of those, 267 went on to have a subsequent pregnancy, and 34 of those had recurred later on, so that's a rate of 12.7%, and that was a significant risk factor for recurrence pregnancy. So had a hazard ratio of 1.56. Other risk factors that were significantly associated was the hernia defect size, probably not surprising. Maybe a little bit more surprising, though, was the type of hernia. So umbilical incisional had higher hazards ratios. So if you look at that overall 5-year probability of ventral hernia recurrence in these patients over time, it is increased, but very interesting is what you see on the right, which is stratifying by type of hernia. And you can see the incisional hernia repairs had a much higher rate of recurrence, whereas epigastric had the lowest. So really, maybe that should be one of the considerations as well, is what kind of hernia are they presenting with? And we should potentially have a much higher threshold for considering repairing those incisional hernias if they're planning future pregnancy. This has been supported with other studies as well, so this one I thought was fun because it was out of Cleveland, and here we are. So again, looking at women of childbearing age that had undergone ventral and incisional hernia repair, over 11,000 included, and then they looked at who had a reoperation after pregnancy, and it was 8.3% of them. And so when you look at the multivariable logistic regression analysis, so accounting for other confounders like wound complications, diabetes, obesity, tobacco use, pregnancy was associated with recurrence with an odds ratio of 1.73. So if your patient is aware of this, it doesn't mean that you can't offer them a repair. It's just part of the informed consent process. But a common question, the next one I get from these patients is, well, will I have a problem with the pregnancy because I have a repair and you potentially put mesh in there? So the first thing I do is put them at ease and that no, that will not interfere with you having a successful pregnancy. But there can be potential side effects, and one of them is pain. So here was a study that looked at the records of patients undergoing a laparoscopic repair of a ventral or incisional hernia at a single institution in the Netherlands. And they reached out to all the females of childbearing age that had this and just asked them if they'd had a pregnancy after the repair, and had those that reported yes, returned to clinic for an exam and a questionnaire addressing their pain, discomfort, recurrence, and complications that they had during their pregnancy. They identified 8 patients. Another reason why this is difficult to study, right? There's just not a large volume of patients out there that you can identify. Half of those patients had incisional hernias, and they all had mesh, and half of those were secured with a double crown technique, the other half with tacks and some transfascial sutures. And they found that 5 of them, so 63%, did indeed report a feeling of tearing or pulling that occurred in the later stages of their pregnancy that was rated as greater than 50 on a scale of 0 to 100. And 100% of the women who had had a previous pregnancy and then went on to have a hernia repair and pregnancy reported that the pain in their abdomen following the repair and the subsequent pregnancy was greater. So they were kind of like their own control, because you could argue maybe their pain is just from pregnancy, but these people had experienced both a pregnancy with a repair and without a repair and definitely felt like the pain was more. Good news is that they had 100% resolution of that pain with delivery. There was one recurrence in that group, so 12.5%, similar to what we saw in the other study. So what about the type of repair if you decide to proceed despite all that? So that's a big topic, but of course you could always consider a primary repair. And if you are going to use mesh, do you want to use biologic or bioresorbable? So I'll talk about my algorithm, but in the end I say simple is better in these situations. We do have guidelines to support us in these decisions. So the EHS and AHS guidelines actually address these specific questions, and they support what I just showed you. Essentially, a woman of childbearing age with an umbilical or epigastric hernia, if you can delay that repair, then that is the better option, to delay until after their last pregnancy. And then if you are going to repair a more symptomatic hernia, the preferred method would be a primary repair and save that mesh repair for the more definitive repair if they have a recurrence later. Despite all that, if the patient is miserable, I think you have to take that into account. So how symptomatic is the patient? And if this is severely inhibiting their quality of life, I think that you should proceed with the repair. So my approach is just to have a fully informed discussion with the patient, make sure they understand all of those variables, avoid the repair if possible if the patient is planning future pregnancy and their quality of life is reasonable. But if a repair must be done, essentially avoid burning any bridges, right? So keep it simple. You're not going to want to do a retrorectus repair here. If you're going to use mesh, maybe an onlay, or I would prefer a bioresorbable in this situation so you don't have to encounter that later. But if it's small enough for a primary, that's the way to go. How about during the bump? Not much to say here, folks. Who wants to operate on a pregnant person if you don't need to? Nobody. So that's probably the wisest approach. We don't have a lot of data regarding that either, but here's my general approach. Obviously, if it's incarcerated bowel, it's an emergency, you don't have a choice, you're going to take care of it. Again, try to keep it simple, though. That's something I would probably do open, and if you could get away with a primary repair, that's better. If they're, on the right side, if they're not symptomatic or minimally symptomatic, then what we just talked about, you're going to want to try to delay until after delivery and potentially after future pregnancies as well. But obviously, if they're significantly symptomatic and you feel like you have to proceed, try to get to that second trimester point. And if you can push them to delay, that would be better. After the bump, eventually the baby comes out, right? So now they come back to you and they have a hernia. These are a frequent patient that I see that's often even referred by their OB, and maybe the patient's not even symptomatic, right? But they're like, my OB, I had this baby, they said I have a hernia now and I should come see you. So I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. Hopefully I kind of got this into your head already. The first question you should be asking is, are you done having babies, right? So if you're planning more babies, maybe now is not the time. What about their abdominal wall? So we know that some significant changes have happened, right? And I think we have to take that into consideration. This was a great study just looking at ultrasounds of primiparous and multiparous postpartum women. It was out of Taiwan, and they did an ultrasound at an average of 7 weeks postpartum and 6 months postpartum, and also assessed their strength at that time, and then compared that to 20 age-matched nulliparous women. So most people in this room are probably not shocked to find that there is definitely a significant difference in the interrecti distance for 6-month postpartum women and nulliparous women. But on the right, when you look at how that plays out over those different time marks, so at 7 weeks and 6 months, that changes pretty dramatically. So they're never going to get back to that baseline of the nulliparous, but it does improve over time. And so does the strength. And I think that you have to take those into consideration. Ideally, I would rather my patient get back to kind of their closest to their baseline as possible before doing that definitive repair. And that means in this case, ideally getting at least past 7 weeks. So other things to consider. Lifestyle considerations. Remember, we don't just fix holes, right? These are human beings that have those holes, and we need to take all of their life into consideration. And you're talking to a patient who just had a baby. And so I think it's fair to take that into consideration to discuss with them. It's like, hey, you've had a lot of life changes going on at home right now. There's a lot of disruption. Is this really what you want to take on right now? Do you want to go through the recovery of a surgery right now if you're minimally symptomatic? But also it may be kind of a Goldilocks situation, right? You're trying to find that sweet spot because right now they have a little lightweight baby, and eventually that baby's going to turn into a 2-year-old that's clinging to their hip at all moments, right? And so it may actually be easier to replace it before the child gets too big, and that creates kind of pain and difficulty with the recovery. So the real point is take every patient as an individual and find out what's important to them and what their goals are. So in conclusion, again, every female with intact fertility is potentially pre-bump and should be screened for future pregnancy desires. And subsequent pregnancy is associated with an increased risk of recurrence. So ideally, if you could delay that until after their last pregnancy, that would be good. Post-bump, consider all the individual patient factors that we talked about, and ultimately understand that as with every hernia repair we do, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to any hernia or patient. Thank you.